ACU men's basketball gets off to a great start in conference play with a 68-58 victory over the University of New Orleans at Moody Coliseum. We've got the senior point guard Jaylen Franklin. We've got junior guard Payten Ricks. Wildcats win it after trailing by 14. First half did not go the way that we were anticipating. Jaylen, what, if you could describe it, what was going wrong in the first half that gave New Orleans the lead?
First off, we was turning the ball over first half, and then we didn't play defense like we usually do. So up in the passing lanes, getting turnovers. So that was a big reason why they had a big lead like that.
Payten, there are nights, aren't there, in the Southland Conference, in a conference game, where things aren't going to go your way. What's going on in the huddles with a veteran group that keeps you from letting a game get out of hand?
Holding each other accountable, but also encouraging. We're just pick each other up after we hold each other accountable, and I think that's the biggest thing tonight was, especially Jaren, his leadership in the locker room tonight at halftime. He was vocal the whole time, and in the past it's been a quiet locker room. But I think in the halftime, and we came together, we got everything right, and I think that's what shows in the second half is leadership.
Jaylen, you've been here a long time. You played in a lot of conference games. Coach Golding said that this team this year has really owned the locker room at halftime. He hasn't had to say a whole lot. How hard is it maybe when you're not naturally vocal to know when to speak? Is that something you have to learn?
Nothing you got to learn. You just got to trust yourself, and the teammates got to trust you too. Our teammates here trust me and trust our seniors and juniors, so it's very easy to be non-vocal.
You didn't start the second half. Tell us what was going on and what you learned in those 5 minutes while you were sitting on the bench to start the second half.
I wasn't playing very good at the first half, and coach sat me down for a couple of minutes, and just had a couple of times, some time to sit back and think and just get back to myself, and that's what happened in the second half.
There are times when you can see things a little differently from the bench than you can on the floor, can't you? So things aren't going really the team's way at all. You're down by 11. You particularly, it was a night where a lot of balls that normally are thrown inside and you catch it and you go up just were bouncing off of feet and hands, and it was just weird. And yet you step in the passing lane, you go down, you get fouled. They call it a flagrant, and it wound up with Bryson Robinson being ejected from the game. Take me through the challenge of continuing to play hard when things aren't going your way. How hard is it?
I think when you love each other and you're playing for the brother next to you, I think it's a lot easier to continue to play. Even when things aren't going your way, you want to fight for the guy that's next to you, and I think that's why our success that we're having is right now, because we have the tightest locker room that we've had, and I think that's showing. I think that's definitely showing.
Jay Frank, you came into the game during that video review when they were trying to decide if it was going to be a flagrant or not. You scored all 10 of your points after you came in at that point. What was the difference in those final 15 minutes for your team when you were down 11, then you went up and won by 10?
We were just out there in the passing lane and getting steals and just trusting each other. Defense was a main key, and we did that in the second half.
Well, let's talk to your coach here, and let's have Joe Golding slide into my left here. Coach, you sometimes call conference games 18 heavyweight fights. There are some nights you win pretty, some nights you win split decisions, some nights you have knockouts. There was a knockout punch in the second half. Where'd it come from?
Yeah, it came from the defensive side of the ball. I think it started when Ricks got a turnover and on the flagrant foul call, and I think that's when it changed right there. And it was a big key coming in. We wanted to guard without foul, rebound the basketball, and create some Rexes, which we call turnovers on the defensive side that lead to points. And I thought we did a much better job of doing that. We went at half when we had 6 turnovers, and that's not our team. We've probably screwed up. We went to the Texas Tech games, the only time we've backed off pressure all year, and since the Tech game, we've been trying to get them back up in passing lanes and get them guarded. I think tonight, the second half, you saw kind of back to where we were, and so I was excited about that we won a game on the defensive side of the ball.
One of the reasons that you were down in the first half is because of how good New Orleans played, and you knew that. I mean, this is as fine a coach team really isn't in the league.
Yeah, we were not good the first half. We were ugly, but that's a credit to New Orleans, and they do a great job of scouting us. They do a great job, and not just us, but every opponent. I got a ton of respect for their coaching staff, their team. Has really bought into what they're trying to do and the game plan, and they were ready to go. I could tell that Tuesday night at practice. I was up here and they practiced in the morning, and I was in my office, and for 2 hours you could hear all the way back in my office the energy energy and the juice that was coming out of that gym. And they'd taken 2 tough losses against Pitt and Baylor, and you knew they were going to come out tonight and give us their best shot. And so that's what we have to get used to as a program. The 11-2, the non-conference start, has put a little bullseye on our chest coming into conference play, and people are going to come after us, and we got to be able to be prepared and respond each night out. That's new territory for our guys, but I think it's something our guys embrace and they're excited about.
You talk a lot about the senior leadership and the leadership of the juniors. Is this a game you win a couple of years ago, down 11 in the second half?
No, absolutely not. But it's a game we're winning now. I told them in the locker room we've had a lot of ugly losses. At times we're starting to get some ugly wins, and if you're going to be good and you're going to compete in this league and you're going to win some games in Division I basketball, you're going to have a handful of games that are ugly wins, and we got one tonight. And again, that's no disrespect to New Orleans at all. I think they got an incredible team. They're picked third for a reason. But it got pretty in the second half.
It did, and you win a game against an opponent you respect on a night when your leading scorer had 0 field goals. Jaren Lewis contributed, though, in other ways.
Yeah, Jaren didn't have any field goals, but, I go back to that one possession. We see there fighting for the ball for 45 seconds, and he ended up securing it and got fouled. That was a senior in a toughness-type play.
Pushed the lead back to 10.
Pushed the lead. He got some Rexes for us that led to points, led out some run-outs to Ricks and BJ and Jay Frank and those guys. And so I thought Jaren was terrific and did some things, and then obviously I thought Jay Frank was too. When we put him back into the second half, in the first half he told me he didn't like my haircut. He popped
not
off
alone.
to me. I told him I wanted the ball inside. He told me he didn't like my new haircut, so I made him sit over there and think about it for a little bit.
His is nice, though.
Yep, and then Coach Tanner came and found me in that first meeting and said, hey, Jay Frank really likes your haircut. He was just kidding with you, so I put Jay back in, and it's the right decision,
This is why we do the post-game interviews. Okay, another very well-coached team coming up Saturday, Sam Houston State. They had tonight off. They're the only one of the 13 teams that didn't play tonight. You're going to get a really good test, aren't you?
Yep. They're coming for us, and we got a ton of respect for their staff and Coach Hooten. He's been there a long time, and I haven't watched them on tape at all, but I know one thing: they're going to guard you, they're going to rebound the basketball, and they're going to be physical and probably going to get out and pressure us, and a little very similar to New Orleans. So hopefully tonight the New Orleans game helps us prepare for Sam. They play a different style offensively, but I would assume if Hooten's still running a bunch of ball screen stuff, but defensively it's very similar. They're 2 of the better defensive teams in our league, and
nothing's easy, is it?
Nothing's easy, but we'll say that for the next 17 games. It's part of conference, and I was excited. I told our guys the first game this year when I walked in, the hair on the back, kind of stood up a little bit because man, you got it means something. You got 40 minutes, and you're going to be 1-0 or 0 for 1. And the last 2 years have been 0 for 1, and so it was great to get off to a good start.
1-0 in the league, 12-2 overall, heading into Saturday's game against Sam Houston State in Huntsville.